Okay, everyone, welcome to part 3 of Ask the King for October 16th, 2014. Whoa, I don't even know where that came from because I literally didn't have anything to drink during the break. Okay, so anyway, we have a ton of questions to get through, and I honestly don't know if we're going to get through them all. Let's just see how far we can get, okay? By the way, the show is running late today, so we are going to have a longer show. All right, here we go. The next question is from Daniel's Wee, and his question is, hi Phil, have you been trying to get your YouTube channel and or Twitter account verified, or are you going to try in the future? Verified is when you have that check mark next to your name. Maybe it would be a good idea to look into that if you haven't already, since people in the past have tried to impersonate you. First of all, I don't know what you're talking about, Daniel, when it comes to YouTube. I don't even know that there's a YouTube verified system. If you actually look at my YouTube channel settings, it does say that I am verified. I guess because I am partnered with Machinima and they vouch for me, but I don't know really what that means. On Twitter, what verifying means is that basically Twitter confirms that you are the person that you're saying you are on Twitter. So for example, if I'm Tom Cruise and I have a real Twitter account and 45,000 other people make Tom Cruise, Tom Cruise, Tom Cruise. Oh no, I'm the real Tom Cruise. No, I'm the real Tom Cruise. You can get your account verified to make sure that people know that you're the real Tom Cruise and don't listen to the shit that other people are saying because they may be trying to impersonate him. However, I have found that Twitter has no formal process whatsoever to get your account verified. In fact, they don't even have a way to actually request it. Apparently, what you need to do is, number one, know someone who's verified to vouch for you. Number two, kind of be in the known persons club. So yeah, if I were on TV and I was a TV star, maybe they would care. But being that I'm an internet not even celebrity, but I would just say an internet personality, they probably don't give a shit. And I think really what it is, you need to go kind of through the PR method. So if I had a manager, right, if I paid a manager to book gigs for me, to get me involved in projects, they could probably talk to Twitter and get me verified. But I looked into this over a year ago, and I don't know how to do it properly. I don't. I even asked. I said, there's people trying to impersonate me. There's people on Twitter right now who they call me DSP, but one of the L's is an uppercase I. And then they say nasty shit. They stole my avatar, so it looks like me. They say nasty shit to people, and people believe that it's me when it's not. I don't know how to fix that. And besides just telling people, listen, this account exists, block them, because I don't know how to get verified. I looked into it, and no one can give me any kind of a situation that could say, here's what you do to get verified. It seems like it's a very weird situation. Twitter only does it to people who, like, I guess they like or whatever. I don't even understand how it works. So, unfortunately, no. I would love to get verified to end the confusion, but I don't know how to do it. All right. Next question is from Super Ghostface 101. And he says, I know that release day unboxing videos are pointless because these days there's almost never even an instruction manual in the box. However, sometimes there are, codes for DLCs and stuff like that. But at the end of your final release day unboxing video back before you moved out of Connecticut, you said you were considering doing something called GameDay, where you were going to talk about how you were going to handle all the games of that week and that day, give your personal feelings about the new games coming out, also the unboxing, if there's something to show in the unboxing. Is that still going to happen, or is that idea trashed? No, the idea is not trashed. What happened was, I moved. We had a summer where I was basically I was so busy on getting my equipment working, getting set up in the office, getting used to working here. And then the hardcore gaming season started. And I actually was going to start Game Day during the hardcore gaming season. And here's literally what happened. I'll be God's honest truth here. I went to pick up the games. I picked up the games. I got home. I installed the games. I made the intro montage for the game. And I said, oh, it's time for Game Day. And I looked at the time. It was time to start streaming already. So here's the thing. When I used to do release day unboxing, what I would do is get up at like 9 in the morning. I'd be at GameStop at 10 a.m. picking the game up. I'd come home quickly. I would do my stuff quickly, right? And then I would do the unboxing video, and then I would start recording or streaming immediately after the unboxing video. Now, I live on the West Coast. I can't get the game until 3 hours later than I used to get it. So unfortunately, it didn't work out. It was like, I would love to do Game Day, but that would delay the game even more, and it'd be less of a stream of my gameplay. So, I want to do Game Day. It's a great idea. It's a great series for me to talk about the new games coming out that week, my background with those series, what I think about them, etc. But I can't do it right now. what I'm going to try to do is, I know I keep saying that, next year, once things calm down and there's not a crazy amount of releases coming out, I'm going to try to maybe sit down and say, okay, let's figure out how to schedule-wise get this going so that I can do game day and it doesn't hinder the stream. Maybe set everything up for game day the night before, literally have it ready to go. And then, so when I get home with the new game, boom, I can immediately do it before I even start installing the game in my PS4. And then, you know, but I haven't had a chance to do that. So we'll see what happens next year. But yeah, people even submitted logos and stuff for game day that I'm going to use, but I just haven't gotten to it yet. Okay. Next question is from the nameless one. He says, how are you doing, Phil? In your past videos, you mentioned that you went through a process to trademark your channel and anything related to you. I'm about to go through that same process for trademarking a game that I'm working on. It's a pen and paper game, by the way. Can you explain the process of trademarking so I'll know what to expect when I eventually get around to it? Thanks in advance. First of all, congratulations on creating your own game. That is an undertaking in itself, and it's a great accomplishment, so good job there. The trademarking process, unfortunately, is not very easy, is not very straightforward, and is incredibly time-consuming and expensive. Let me give you some perspective. Earlier this year, I believe it was around March or April, I discovered that a detractor of mine was attempting to copyright DSP gaming, okay? Not the word, but videos on the internet pertaining to gaming. He actually went and filed a trademark claim, which costs hundreds of dollars, by the way, to do this with the trademark office. Now, the guy's an idiot because you can't do that. You actually have to have something related to that in order to trademark it. You can't just trademark something that you have no rights to. So even if he had successfully had that go all the way through, by the time it hit the end of the process, I would have just called a lawyer, and the lawyer would have called the trademark office and said, no, Phil Burnell owns the channel DSP Gaming that has gaming videos. He's been doing it for years, and the trademark would have went away. But I digress. Here's the process. I filed for this process earlier this year, like before then, like early in the year. It wasn't until last week that I actually got an email on my phone here that said, oh, the trademark office has formally filed. You're going to be filed soon, but you're formally in there, and yes, you're going to get the trademark. So it took, what, 8-9 months, if not longer, to even get the trademark office to review my documents and say, yes, okay, you're good to go. Now, it also costs over $500 to file a trademark, and the problem with trademarks is that they're only for one specific medium. So let me give you some perspective here for your pen and paper game. Let's say, for example, it's called Dragon's Lore. That's the name of your game. What if you want to trademark that pen and paper game? Okay, you can do that, and you'd have to look in certain categories that they have listed for gaming in the realm of written games or something like that. For me, it was gaming in the realm of non-downloadable entertainment on-demand videos or something like that. That's the terminology. But here's the catch. It's over $500 to get the trademark for just that. Now, let's say someone plays your game. Wow, I really like this game. I'm going to sell merch for Dragon's Lore. And you have a guy called Gnar the Barbarian. They start making t-shirts with Gnar the Barbarian on them. They start making t-shirts that say Dragon's Lore. Well, you go and you say, well, you can't do that. I own the trademark. No, you don't. You own the trademark to the game. So if anyone else tried to make a game called Dragon's Lore, you can stop them. But if someone wanted to make merchandise, they're free to do so. If you want to stop that, you have to file a separate trademark for every kind of merchandise. So we're talking clothing, mugs, digital stuff on the internet. Yeah, it's all separate. And the trademark office makes zillions of dollars doing this. It's insane the amount of money that they make trademarking every particular medium of something. So right now, even though I do own DSP Gaming, okay, I own DSP Gaming, the trademark for videos online pertaining to gaming. Someone right now could make a movie just titled DSP Gaming, and I really have no right to stop them because I didn't file a trademark that said you can't make a real motion picture with that name. That's how annoying the trademark office is, okay? And it takes forever. You're going to have to... I recommend you go through someone like LegalZoom and don't try to do it yourself because it's even more incredibly expensive to hire a trademark attorney to do it the proper way for you. Use LegalZoom. They'll ask you for the different things that you need to prove. By the way, you have to have the game already. The game has to be there so you can prove that it exists, okay? And once you prove that it exists, whatever their criteria are, you file with them. It costs over $500. They'll file with the trademark office, and you just basically sit and wait. You have to hear if anyone already has that name trademarked for the kind of product you're trying to trademark. And then once that's done, then it just goes to the office and it sits there for like 8 months until they finally file it. And then finally, when it's done, you'll get a nice packet of all this paperwork. It's a mess. Okay. Next question. Now this is a very interesting question. This one's from DML897. And he wrote an insanely huge paragraph here that I'm going to summarize because we're running out of time. Basically, he says, what do you think about gaming parity? And it's not parody, like P-A-R-O-D-Y. It's parity, P-A-R-I-T-Y. What this term means is that a game basically is the same on every version that it's released. In some cases, it even means a game is released on the same day of all different ports. So, for example, the big controversy going on right now, there's two of them. The first controversy is that apparently Ubisoft came out and said that Assassin's Creed Unity will be 900p resolution and 30 frames per second on every single console and every port because they want it to look and feel like the same experience on every console, regardless of the fact that probably the PlayStation 4 could do better than that. And people immediately backlashed and said, what the fuck is this? We bought a next-gen console, we're expecting next-gen graphics, and you're giving us the same version everyone else gets because you don't want one version to look better than the other? Fuck you. What the fuck's up with that? That's not fair to the consumer. So, of course, Ubisoft came out again and said, oh, that's not what we meant. What we meant was, in order to finish the game and make the world be as open world as we intended, we had to limit the game. And it's a complete backstep, and it's bullshit. You could tell that they fucked up. They admitted the truth at first. They didn't want people not buying the last-gen versions of the game. They wanted everyone to buy the next, not the next-gen, but, you know, they wanted people to be spreading out their purchases of this game, okay? And not say, oh, well, PS4 runs at 1080p, but Xbox One only runs at 900p, so I'm just not going to get it because I only own an Xbox One. Fuck this game. It's bullshit. It is bullshit. Because I'm going to be honest, if you bought the newer console, you're expected to get something that's next-gen on that newer console. We didn't all run out and buy our PS4s to buy PlayStation 3 quality games. We expected better. Why else did we buy the new hardware, right? And for a developer to basically say, well, we're afraid that if we do that and we make it better on one than the other, that's going to hurt sales on the other, so fuck the consumer, we're going to downgrade everything, is a slap in the face. And it's just another terrible business practice by Ubisoft. I don't know how many of these they can do, between mistreating employees, delaying games 9+ months when they're done and ready to go because they want to try to make more fucking money making it cross-platform, and now fucking over the gamers who bought the next-gen hardware and nerfing their own games. It's another awful business practice. It's another thing that the Ubisoft management needs to be called out for, and whoever the fuck it is at the top of their food, I am French Canadian and I am smarter than you, so fuck you and I fuck the consumer. They get 900p, fuck them. No, fuck you. We just say fuck you, and people should say, why are these people in power? They don't deserve to be in creative power if they're going to be doing these anti-gamer and anti-employee and anti-game in general practices. Who the fuck is in charge over there, and why are they if they're making these dumb fucking decisions? Can someone please call them out? Anyone? How about someone in the gaming media, instead of giving shitty reviews and talking about Gamergate, they get on this fucking guy's case and they rip him a new asshole, whoever the fuck it is. I want to know. Okay. The other gaming parity issue, this is another controversy, is that Microsoft, with their Xbox, I believe it's Xbox One, basically saying, Phil Spencer, he basically said that there's a clause in all indie developer contracts that if you're going to develop an indie game that's going to be released on an Xbox console, that it must be released the same day across all consoles, or at least Xbox must get it the same day, or else your game is not allowed on the Xbox console. So let me give you some perspective. You're developing a game, a new indie game, and for whatever reason, the development goes way smoother to get this game to work on PS4 than it does on Xbox One. So you could actually get the game to release in June on PS4, and it's going to take a few more months to get it to jive on Xbox One, so maybe it'll come out in September on Xbox One. Xbox says, fuck you, if you're not going to release the game on the same day on both consoles, we don't want your game. Now, indie developers are up in arms. They're like, now, wait a minute. It's not our fault that your hardware may be harder to develop with in certain cases. We didn't make your hardware. You did. So why are you holding this against us? Okay? And I don't know. I mean, although I could say this, from a consumer standpoint, all right, the fact that all consumers get the game on the same day may actually be a positive. Now, the PS4 owner may not see it that way. They may say, well, that's bullshit. I could have had the game in June and now I have to wait till September. But at least if everyone gets the game at the same time, it's not like one gamer feels like they got a big heads up over the other gamer because they just by chance happen to own one or the other console. For a developer, that could be a nightmare, right? Because now you're talking about, if I can't get this to work on two completely differently engineered consoles for the same time period, that this game cannot go out on Xbox, or we have to delay it on PlayStation, and it could be a development nightmare. So, I don't know. I mean, it's hard. I can see both sides of the coin, how it's an advantage to some, disadvantage to others, why Microsoft is doing it as a business decision, because obviously they want all games on the Xbox, or not. They don't want people getting it 6 months later on Xbox, and then they put all the effort to try to promote the game and no one buys it because they already played it on PS4. I can see all the sides in this situation. I can't necessarily say that one is right and one is wrong. But I can understand why people could be pissed off from all different perspectives. So, unfortunately, DML 897, I don't have a real opinion on that second issue. The first issue, I'm very polarized. Fuck Ubisoft management. I'm tired of these dickheads. You should get fucking hot pokers up their ass for the shit that they pull. But I don't know about that second one. That one is kind of a unique and weird situation. I'm interested to see how it pans out. Okay. I'm going to be honest, guys. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to skip some of these questions. There were so many good ones this time around. Let me see something here. I'm trying to find a really good one. I actually got a few questions about comic books now becoming movies and TV shows. And I also got a few questions about my history about being a movie buff and what got me excited, what was like my first movie. Those are things that I'd actually like to talk about next year, because next year I am going to be starting a new series that's going to be about movies. It's going to be about me talking about movies, me reviewing movies that I have on Blu-ray, and also just giving you my background about movies, because I really feel that, just like gaming, I have a unique perspective and background when it comes to movies. And so I thank those who asked those questions, but I think I'm going to reserve those questions until next year when I actually get a formally large chunk of time to talk about it in a new series that I'm going to be starting, okay? It'll be Movie Reel with DSP or something like that. I don't know, something stupid. Okay. Let me see here. Where do I see here? All right, we're going to skip 3 or 4 questions that are related to that subject to talk about in the future, okay? The next question. This is an incredibly good one, okay? And that's why I'm doing this one. Dear Phil, I've been a fan for a long time, ever since your first Infamous playthrough. Wow, that was a long time ago. It's been amazing watching you grow as a business and a person through these 5 years. Since you've been doing videos, you've established yourself as the king of hate. I'm starting to wonder, in terms of that name, if it really is defining you anymore. I understand that you stand up against haters who hate on you for no reason, and that you're a very honest person about things in all forms of your life. And when I look at your profile picture, and it says hate below your name, I just kind of wonder if that truly represents who you've now become. I think that you have become a very strong, positive person in this community of gamers, but possibly the way you represent yourself as the king of hate may now be outdated to who you've become. My question is, will you always want to keep that entitlement of the king of hate, or eventually change into a different name? I love you, Phil. You're one of my role models to help me grow as a person. Keep doing what you're doing. And that is from Luke. Thank you very much, Luke, for that question, because it is actually something that I feel that I need to address, but at the same time, it's something that unfortunately I may not be able to do anything about. So let me explain, okay? When I started as the king of hate, remember I had Darkside Phil was my original YouTube channel, and then my vlogs channel was the King of Hate HD, okay? And then I had the kingofhate.com website, all right? And then incidentally, after a lot of stuff changed, then we had the King of Hate Vlogs, which is now where I do all my vlogging. I'll agree with you guys. I will agree with you guys that, you know, initially that was kind of a fun tagline when YouTube was in its development hot popular stages back in, 2008 to 2010, and everything was white hot with gaming, and I was one of the few people who was doing full playthroughs unedited on YouTube, and that's what got me my popularity. People would say, wow, he's the king of hate, look at that. People hate on him, and he shits right back on them. He plays Street Fighter, and he talks shit, and blah, blah, blah. And people were all into it. And honestly, I think that now, unfortunately, that moniker has become more of a misnomer. Which basically means that people hear it and they think the King of Hate, so that means that he just plays games and hates on the games, right? He calls the game developers assholes, and he says that every game sucks, and that's his gimmick. And that's not it. That's nothing of what is behind that name at all. But I get the feeling that a lot of people even have misconceptions. I will be even honest here. What the hell is his name? I can't even remember his name now. I'm having a brain fart. Well, I don't know. I'm having a brain fart. But there have been other YouTubers who've come out and said, oh, I don't support Phil, him hating on games, that's stupid, that's not a good practice to have, and I don't understand why the guy's popular. And it's like, but that's not what I do. And I think what it is that people have taken this King of Hate moniker and turned it into something that it's not. They've turned it into a way to misrepresent me negatively rather than show that what it's supposed to be about is that when people unfairly hate on me in my life and say I can't do something and say that I'm no good, that I take that hatred and negativity and I master it and I become the king of it and I turn it into the fuel to propel me to keep going and doing well. But people have clouded that positive message and turned it into, oh, Phil's a racist, Phil's a hateful guy, all he does is shit on games and shit on game developers and shit on this and shit on that, and he makes a living doing it, and he should. And that's not what it means at all. That's not even me. Anyone who's watched my content, especially over the years, has seen that I've changed as a person. I ended more negative and malicious series like Friend Request Ridicule, and I became a much more positive person when it comes to my viewpoint on life and gaming and all kinds of things over the years. How else did I completely change my attitude on Dark Souls, where at one point I didn't ever want to play it, then I ended up playing Dark Souls with people on stream, with their help, I mastered it. Demon Souls I ended up becoming good at, and then I played all through Dark Souls 2 and loved it. I've really matured and changed. So, that's great, right? And it's great that I come to that realization. And especially for newer people who may not know who I am, and the first thing they hear is the King of Hate, and they say, well, what does that mean? And then, of course, they search for me, and the first thing they see, Phil's an asshole, Phil sucks, he's a racist, and all that stuff. They say, oh, God, I don't want to be associated with that guy. But unfortunately, the whole flip side of that, and the reason that really it would be incredibly difficult for me to change that is because take a look at all my stuff. TheKingOfHate.com is my website. It's been established as my website, and everyone knows that's where to go. The King of Hate Vlogs is the name of my YouTube vlogging channel. That's actually, it's been increasing in popularity recently. And if I were to suddenly, I'm going to change the name of my website, and I'm going to make a new vlogging channel to start over, it would backfire. You know what I mean? It would cause confusion. It would cause, the brand itself of DSP, the King of Hate, would fall apart. And it just sucks that people have been miscommunicating what I am and who I am and what I stand for, and using a simple moniker. It used to be kind of, wow, it's a cool moniker, it makes sense, it's fun once you know what it is, and and then they've changed it through mass consensus of bullshit. The idiots of YouTube have changed what that means, and I really wish that there was a way to fix it. You know what I mean? If anything, what I would say is the way to fix something like that is through you guys communicating the truth. When you see someone spouting bullshit about, oh, he's the King of Hate and he just hates on people in games and he's a racist and that, say, no, that's not what the fuck that means. That's never what that meant. Do you really think that someone, if that's what they were about, they would have ever become popular on YouTube to begin with? No. That's not what I'm about. I'm about fairness. I'm about equality. I'm about being open-minded. I'm a much different, more mature person now than I ever was when I started this whole thing. And I do agree that the moniker kind of, I wish I could change it, but it's become a part of me and the brand, and changing that would drastically backfire. There'd be people who would just be so confused and not know where to go anymore, or what happened to this guy, and it would be a mess. Now, I'm not saying that I couldn't have other things, like, for example, if I do another series, it's probably not going to be The King of Hate Plays Movies. No, it's probably going to be something different than that. But, you know what I mean? It's too much. 5+ years and throwing that away for the sake of starting over and even changing my YouTube channels and stuff probably would make a mess and backfire, okay? So I don't know. I mean, it's a consideration. It's something that I definitely wish I could improve, but I don't know how I could do it, okay? All right, we got basically 2 more questions, and then we've got the Twitter and Facebook questions, which are pretty quick. So I think we can get through this and finish now. Next question. Oh, it's another one from Blue Turtle. He actually got 2 in this episode. Wow. He says, what is your plan on tackling the 2 Assassin's Creed games, which are now going to be released exactly on the same day in November? The plan, basically, the plan is to play Assassin's Creed Unity that release week, and I'm probably, quite honestly, going to be saving Assassin's Creed Rogue completely for a playthrough in December. Because, no lie, the 2 central weeks in November, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and I think that could be 10. I think there's 9 to 10 major games coming out in a 2-week span that I want to play. And I know I'm not going to be able to play them all during that period of time. So what I'll probably do is lay down the law and say I'm playing these 3 this week, these 3 this week, these 3 this week, you know what I mean? And spread it out so that I have time to play them and not rushing through them. And that way we'll have content going until the end of the year. Versus me running out of stuff in early December and then having to think up 5,000 year-end series to do, right? And I'm not saying I'm not doing the year-end series. I'm just saying that it'll be a lot more gameplay this time around this year than we usually have near the end of the year. Okay. The final question from the forums is from Inky Cloaks. And he says, hey, Phil, what do you think about the MOBA genre in general? And what is your thoughts on the soaring popularity of games like League of Legends, Dota 2, in regards to esports, the multi-million-dollar prize pools, selling out the Staples Center, etc.? Do you think that this could become a legitimate sport? Secondly, do you think that going back, if those games were alive back then and those opportunities were available to you during your pro Street Fighter career, that you would have gone to this genre instead of fighting games? Nevertheless, love your content, Phil, and thank you. You know, it's hard to say because everything to say in retrospect, you know, it's hard to say what would happen if that had happened back then. And what I mean by that is a lot of people still dispute the fact that I say that I'm a former pro fighting game player. They say, oh, Phil, he might have been good at like Super Turbo. He was no pro. You know, he didn't make his living playing Street Fighter. If you're a professional, it means you make your living doing something. I hate to tell you guys, no one was a professional Street Fighter player back then. Not until the dawn of Street Fighter 4 and Mad Catz making millions of dollars on their stupid joysticks and getting sponsorship contracts and all that shit. None of that existed back then. The only way that you could make money playing Street Fighter was winning a tournament where traditionally the entry fees were very low to try to attract more people, and the most you would win is a couple hundred to maybe a couple $1,000s a tournament. Now, you're traveling the country, maybe there's one major tournament a month and you win $2,000. Sorry, you can't make a decent living making $24,000 and paying to travel all over the country. There were no professional Street Fighter players until Street Fighter 4. So, if all these things today existed back then and there were joystick contracts, I was one of the pivotal figures in the Street Fighter community for several years. I was like the controversial guy. I was the guy that everyone was talking about, all right? I definitely would have gotten sponsors. I definitely would have had people who wanted to follow me around and, you know, have all that kind of stuff. It didn't exist. When I was into Street Fighter, it didn't exist. So you can say I'm not a pro Street Fighter player, fine. You could say that, then no one was back then, all right? There were no pro Street Fighter players until Street Fighter 4 came out. So, all that being said, I got into Street Fighter because of 2 things. Number 1, because the game was incredibly unique and groundbreaking. And number 2, because it created a social culture in arcades. And it really was that social culture of Street Fighter that I got into. The fact that you can meet complete strangers in an arcade, learn strategies and gameplay tips from just playing each other. It was almost like, imagine traveling to a local dojo and every week fighting different people and learning your combat techniques and respecting those people. That's kind of what it was. And then after the arcades era started ending and I started traveling the country playing Street Fighter at tournaments on consoles, it was kind of the same thing. I'm meeting all these people from all over the country and all over the world in a lot of degrees because I met people internationally from Japan and Europe and all kinds of stuff. And having these relationships and conversations with people that you never otherwise would have met. That was kind of the attraction. Yes, it was the competitiveness of the game, but it was also the social culture of the thing that attracted me. I know nothing about MOBAs. And what I mean by that is I know about the games, I know how to play them, I understand they exist, I know nothing whatsoever about the culture, about what kind of interaction those players have, I know nothing. So for me to speak completely out of context about MOBAs would be very foolish. I've done it in the past, spoken out of context with limited understanding, and people always rip me a new asshole for it. So I'm not going to stand here and say MOBAs are stupid and repetitive and people just get addicted to them and they don't know what they're watching. No, because then all I'm going to hear is Phil doesn't know what he's talking about, MOBAs are great, and I don't want people to get the wrong impression. What I will tell you is this. MOBAs seem to be a very competitive game. They seem to, on a high level, they could be just as competitive as Street Fighter. And lucky for them that MOBAs are played on high-end gaming rigs that cost bajillions of dollars, and you can sell mice, and you can sell headphones, and you can sell a graphics card, and you can sell this, and you can sell this. It's a very marketable game. Any MOBA is a very marketable game. And there's tons of sponsorship opportunities. So right out of the gate, when MOBAs started becoming popular, oh, well, this popular player could say this mouse is good, and you could sell these headphones. You know what I mean? That didn't exist with Street Fighter. With Street Fighter, it was, well, you got a joystick. And what else are you going to possibly sell? You know what I mean? So that is a lot of potential. I can understand why there's multi-million-dollar tournaments for MOBAs. And then, of course, with the dawn of live streaming, that's another thing. Live streaming wasn't around when Street Fighter was big until Street Fighter 4. Now, MOBAs have become popular. All of a sudden, live streaming hits the big time at the same time, and it's kind of like the perfect storm of popularity. Kind of like it was the perfect storm of popularity for me on YouTube. A guy who's doing playthroughs different than everyone else at a time when a website is exploding. That's kind of what happened with MOBAs. Competitive gaming that's different from everything else, that's highly marketable at a time when live streaming is exploding. There you have it. Success. So, would I have chosen, if I had a choice between Street Fighter and MOBAs and all this, would I have chosen differently? I don't know. I couldn't tell you because I don't know what the culture is over there with MOBAs. Is the same as it used to be with the competitive Street Fighter, which, by the way, I know for a fact, competitive Street Fighter's culture is way different now than it used to be, now that it's all about, I got to make that internet YouTube money, and I got to get sponsorships, and I got to get this, and making it big. More people today play Street Fighter to try to make money and make it big and get internet popularity than to play the fucking games and like them, and that's the wrong mentality to have. That's why I got out of it, because I didn't like Marvel vs. Capcom 3, and I said, I'm not going to continue to spend my time playing a game that's subpar as a piece of shit, and the only reason people like it is because people watch it on the internet, not because the game's good. It's not. The game is trash, and any competitive player behind closed doors will tell you that, but they play it because it makes money. So, I don't know. It's an interesting question. I'm definitely not going to get into MOBAs at this point, and I'm not saying that I won't ever try a MOBA. I'm just saying I'm not going to get into, I don't think I would get into anything really seriously competitive at this point. That's not the person I am anymore. I'm the kind of guy that likes to enjoy, I'm the jack of all trades. I play everything, I enjoy everything, rather than me focusing in, hyper-focused on one thing. And not to say I couldn't do it. I still surely believe that if I just played Street Fighter crazily for a few months and I got back into it, that I could probably do pretty decently in the scene, but I don't want to do it. I have no desire to do it. I don't want to go back to that lifestyle. I did it once. It didn't pan out to do anything positive for me, and I've moved on. Okay. So now Twitter questions. First one is from Sal, and he says, are you ever going to get back to buying collector's editions, of video games? I miss those old unboxing videos. Probably not. I'm going to be honest with everyone. At this point, it's a lot different. When I started with these videos on YouTube, all right, number one, I'll be honest, I was making a ton of money doing it. A ton of money. Like, I would do an unboxing video, and the thing would get 50,000 views, which would pay for the game. So before I even recorded a video of the game, I paid for the game and the collector's edition content, right? Now, things have died down. I make, even a review of a game barely can reach 10,000 views a lot of the time. So for me, it's like, it's about being able to financially, justify the purchase of a collector's edition. Some of these collector's editions are still upwards of $150 when the normal game's only $60 and all you get is a figure or whatever. And let's be honest, what do I need with all these figures? It was one thing, again, when I was making money hand over fist doing it, who cares if I'm ever going to use the figure? People got to see the unboxing video and it was a lot of fun. Now, I spend all this extra money, I don't even know if I'm going to make my money back, and who the fuck needs it anymore? I don't even have anything to do with all those figurines and statues that I bought over the years. I got to get rid of them. So, no, I'm probably have no real situation where I'm going to be buying a collector's edition unless, in particular, there's something really nice with it that I want, or there's some DLC available to only with the collector's edition that I really want. But otherwise, outside of that, I'm probably not going to be getting the collector's editions anymore. Okay? Okay. Next question is from Terra Hawk, and he says, what's the problem with the netcode for Street Fighter in the US? Is it difficult to fix, or does Capcom not care? Both. Number one, the netcode for Street Fighter 4 works perfectly in Japan. From every report that I've heard, people that play it online in Japan have no lag. They can play it almost flawlessly. The problem is Japan has incredibly good internet because the government owns the internet lines. They own the infrastructure of the internet, and they made it insanely good quality. In the United States, we don't have that. In the United States, we have all independently owned companies. Back home, I had Cablevision. Here, I have Comcast. There's Time Warner. There's AT&T. There's Verizon. There's 5 zillion companies that all provide internet, and none of them are really interested in each other. They all hate each other. They all want to, compete with each other. So they have no interest in improving internet lines and making them work. In fact, in the United States, they want to have an internet fast lane so that people who pay more money get better internet and people who don't pay more money get shit internet. It's terrible. It's incredibly anti-consumer. It's one of the worst, most money-grubbing, greedy practices that has ever hit business, and our government is supporting it because they're all taking kickbacks from these internet providers in the United States. It's ridiculous. Our lawmaking system is incredibly corrupt and sad, but this is what's happening right now. So, in Japan, it's government-owned internet, it's fast as fuck, and by the way, I'm pretty sure it's almost free over there in all situations, so you plug right in, oh my god, amazing, it's like I'm playing someone in person. Here, it's like, well, is Comcast any good? How do they work with someone with a Verizon connection? What's the speed differentials, and what's all this? So, it's a combination that our internet in the United States fucking sucks, and it's a combination that's too difficult to fix, because Capcom, how do you fix that? How do you write netcode that can adjust for all of that? So, Capcom basically said, we'll make it work in Japan, and if it doesn't really work well in the United States, fuck the United States. And that's literally what they said. Fuck them. We don't care. Okay. Next question is from Macho Channel. Interesting name. What is your take on the current dilemma of death threats and sexist hate towards women in the video game industry? In particular, he's talking about people who have been involved in the Gamergate controversy. In particular, some feminist people such as Anita Sarkeesian and a few others. Anita Sarkeesian, who is a feminist gamer, per se, who, I'm going to be honest, I don't really support her. I've heard about some really shady shit she's done, raising tens of thousands of dollars to make video series that it looks like an amateur could make, so where did the tens of thousands of dollars go that she took from these projects? But she's some kind of a feminist, outspoken woman who talks about gaming and how she thinks games are anti-woman and very anti-feminist, and it objectifies women. And because she was one of these people, she became very well-known, and she gets asked to go do speeches, and she gets asked to go to conventions. She's received awards. Again, I don't really know too much about her repertoire. I'm not going to say positive or negatively anything really about her, okay? What I can say is that the shit that's happening to her is fucked up. Like, for example, people calling the convention center where she's going to do a presentation and say, if you have Anita Sarkeesian there, we're going to kill everyone there. People making death threats at her house, saying, we're coming to fuck you and kill you right now. We're coming to your house. And she had to abandon her house. Shit like that. That's fucked up, all right? I don't care how much you disagree with a person and their take. I don't even care if you think that she's a thief and that she has all these false projects that are raising tens of thousands of dollars and she's pocketing the money. I don't care. You can't make death threats. That's just fucked up stuff. You know, you could completely disagree with someone. You still got to be a reasonable person. You can't do that shit. You know what I mean? And it's the whole thing all over the internet. People are going nuts with swatting, with that kind of shit. What's going on? What is going on with the world and our society that people just think because it's the internet now, we can get away with everything, right? We're all anonymous. We can all get away with everything. And all I have to say is I think our law enforcement has to really start kicking it up a notch, because if people are doing it so much now, it means that they can get away with it. And they need to stop getting away with it. They really do. They need to be held accountable for their actions, and they shouldn't be able to do this. Regardless of if you think that Anita Sarkeesian is the most nasty, vile person on the planet, you have no right to threaten her life unless she's threatened yours first. And that's the bottom line. And it's fucked up, and I disagree with it. Okay. Next question is from Evil Elvis. He says, are you a fan of the original Predator movie? Would you like to see a good Predator game like Alien Isolation? I am a huge fan of the huge Predator movie. In fact, the quote that I use in a lot of playthroughs, "Get to the chopper!" That is from the original Predator movie. It's actually well-paced, really well done, probably one of Arnold's best roles, if not his best role, and it's just an amazing movie. It was groundbreaking for the time. The cinematography, the visual effects were amazing. And if they could make a game, it wouldn't be based off the movie, but if they could make a game, a Predator-like game, similar to Alien Isolation with predators like that, hunting humans, and you have to survive, and it's survival horror, I think it could be do really well, just like Alien Isolation is a great game. All right? Next question is from, let's see here, the Azure Bandit, and he says, considering the fact that you now have a private space and a home with a fireplace, will your annual special for Halloween incorporate it, or will you be telling scary stories by the fire, or will you be incorporating it in other ways? I more than likely will be incorporating this new living space in new things. I can tell you right now, I'm trying to think up a Christmas special that can use the house. Yeah, you will see that incorporated into future stuff. I just can't tell you what yet because I have to think it up. I don't think I'm going to be doing spooky stories for Halloween, but I think that there will be fun stuff coming, okay? All right, and now we've got 2 more questions, and then we're done for this week, or this month. Finally, everyone. I apologize it's such a long episode, although I know a lot of you really like the content as well, so. This one is from Suzay Akiska, and he or she, because I have no idea if that's a male or female name, asks the following. In your review for the Thief remake, you mentioned that pure stealth a la the original Thief and old school Metal Gear were sort of left behind by the game industry, and audiences and people don't really want that sort of game anymore. Most stealth games in modern times are mixing it up with action, set pieces, and other gameplay mechanics like Assassin's Creed and the Batman Arkham games. I was wondering if you may feel the same true about survival horror. With your playthrough of The Evil Within, I've noticed even though this game has been billed as a return to true survival horror, it still seems that there's a lot of action and a variety and an abundance of weapons. Do you think people still want a true survival horror game like the old Resident Evil or Silent Hill games? Or is this another form of games being left behind, like games that are pure stealth? Ugh. That's a mouthful. Alright, well. Basically, I do think that just like stealth, that the true survival horror game has evolved and changed for the times. I really don't feel, and I'm being honest here, I'm speaking from the heart on this one. As someone who grew up with the classic Resident Evil games, Resident Evil 1 and 2, alright, and actually enjoyed those games very much, I don't think that if they made a new game that played just like that, that it would do well. I don't think that the major buying audience for games anymore are people my age. I think that it's a younger audience. I think that younger people want easier games. And I think that that is a trend that we're seeing now with all these new games, is that they are becoming much easier. There's an overabundance of items and weapons in them, unlike what used to be around in those games. And I think that they're becoming progressively easier because of that. We've seen this with the dumbing down of fighting games, the inputs of fighters, right? We've seen this with games now that are supposed to be survival horror, but there's a shit ton of crafting items and ammo and weapons everywhere. How is this survival horror? Look at Resident Evil 6. What happened to that? And I'm going to be honest, I think Evil Within is not a classic survival horror game. It may still be categorized as survival horror, but it's definitely not like in the vein of the classic game. There's a lot of weapons, a lot of ammo. A lot of the times I'm maxed out on my weapons and ammo. Yeah, there are times when it's scarce, but usually I find more right away. Keep in mind, I'm only about maybe, I think, 6 to 7 hours into the game, and it may get much harder later on, but at least for the first parts of the game, it doesn't seem, to me, to be like that classic feeling of survival horror that used to be around. So I do think things are changing overall. And whether or not you think that's positive or negative, that's your opinion. But I grew up in the burgeoning era when survival horror was first emerging, and it was one thing, and today it is a different thing. Okay? Alright, and the final question, ladies and gentlemen, from Zway. This is a good one. He says, "Hey Phil, I don't know if you've answered this question before or not, but have you ever contemplated or thought now or in the past of getting tattoos? And if so, could they have been video game related? For example, I have the Catherine insignia on my forearm and ABA's portrait from Guilty Gear on my bicep because of those games meaning something to me. Keep doing you." Well, I am now going to show you the life-size head of Duke Nukem that I have attached on my navel. Oh. You never saw it? No. Leanna burst in for a second. That was funny. No, I don't have any tattoos, ladies and gentlemen, for multiple reasons. Number one, I think they are kind of expensive if you want to get it done properly, and I just never had enough money for it, quite honestly. When I was younger, when I would have done something like that. Number two, I don't see let me put it this way. My dad has a couple tattoos. I've talked about this in the past. He's got a couple tattoos that are pretty dumb. Okay, and he now regrets having those. But I'm sure when he was a kid and he got them, he loved them, right? But they look stupid. And he has one on his upper arm here that it's just really dumb. He can't wear, if he wears a shirt, sleeveless shirt, you can see it, and it looks really stupid. It was poorly done. And I know that for a fact that my tastes have changed and things, you know. I'm going to be honest, when I was very young and I was just first known as the King of Hate, I was like, hey, I know, I should get the word hate tattooed across my back. That was a great idea, wasn't it? Because when you go swimming on vacation shirtless, no one's going to be deterred when your guy has hate tattooed on his body. I mean, that's what I mean. It's stupid, in my opinion, to do it only because, for me, my tastes change. And I know that something that I get today might be pertinent today, won't be pertinent 5 years from now, definitely won't be pertinent 20 years from now when I'm 50 and I have this fucking tattoo on my body of something. You know what I mean? So, that's what people are saying. That would have been great if I got that tattoo. So, I know, even though I've thought about it in my youth, once I basically hit my mid-20s, the thoughts of getting a tattoo finally just kind of went out of my head, and I said, that's nothing that I want to do. Just like, you don't see me wearing earrings, right? You don't see me wearing jewelry besides this chain, which is from Leanna, which is the reason why I wear it, because it's a memento between the two of us signifying, you know, our relationship. What are you doing in the hallway? Eavesdropping.
Matching tattoos.
We're not getting matching tattoos. I'm not the kind of guy that needs bling on his fingers. You know what I mean? A tattoo is kind of, oh, look at this tattoo. And some people, don't get me wrong, some people get tattoos because they have sentimental value. Maybe they have a loved one that passed away and it's a memoriam or a reminder of them that they put somewhere on their body. And that's something different. But for me, I don't have that. So for me, it's like I wouldn't really. But I still have you. I don't need to have a memoriam tattoo on my body.
But you can still have.
Would you look it out of here? All right, so no, I never thought about having a tattoo recently. When I was younger, I did, but I don't think it would be a good idea. Okay, so that is it, everyone, for this episode of Ask the King. Another extra long episode. I thank everyone who submitted questions for it. Thanks very much. Again, the next episode will be on Thanksgiving. So, if you want to submit questions for that episode, please post them up on the kingofhate.com forums. The thread is already opened. And please do, you got a month and a half now to think of something good, okay? We're now going nuts on the stream chat about the reactions to Leanna. Okay, so thanks very much for being here. I hope to see you in a month and a half for the next special Thanksgiving episode of Ask the King, and I hope that you ask me Thanksgiving-themed questions for it. In addition, next week we will be returning with Hate Live. I know it's been on hiatus for a while. It returns next week, so I hope that you'll be here for that. Excuse me, as well. So whether you watch this on YouTube or whether you watch it live on Twitch TV, thanks very much, everyone, for your viewership. I appreciate it. I hope to see you next time. Have a good Halloween, everyone, and I will see you in Thanksgiving for the next episode of Ask the King. Peace